Anthony Grassi here for D2 Ticker at the 2025 NCAA Convention. Happy to sit down for another small college conversation with Kim Pate, the new Director of Athletics at the University of Indianapolis. Kim, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
So as you sit here right now, what excited you the most about joining UIndy?
Golly, well, UIndy's been a powerhouse in Division II, and I think I didn't share this with you leading into this. I apologize. I'm hitting you with this
Please.
Off the cuff. I used to be at UIS, same conference. You know, it was 2011 to 2016. I got to know Dr. Sue Willey and just really, developed a deep respect for her and how she ran her program at UIndy. They beat up on us a good bit during those days. So I actually, as a young AD, just wanted to, I wanted to be able to develop a program just like UIndy. And so when I took the LR job, my goal was to make LR into the type of school I viewed UIndy as being just an all-around program of excellence. So when the UIndy job opened up, I thought, wow, this is too good to be true. And of course, deep respect for Dr. Sue Willey. But I thought, I want to go there and put my own stamp on it. And for me, it's about going somewhere where you feel you can sustain success, sustain excellence. And I felt like UIndy could do that in many ways. Great market, great tradition, has had success athletically, has some amazing coaches. But this is a place I felt like I could sustain success, but there's still opportunity for me to put my own mark on it.
Right. You mentioned when you were introduced that you wanted to build the model Division II program. What does that look like?
Yeah, so, I've heard that for 20 years since I've been in this business.
Right, we've heard a lot of people say that.
I think I'm just now starting to really lean into, what does that mean?
Okay.
It really is about being a leader in Division II in all ways, being, the gold standard and being able to elevate our division. I want to be the school that is first out of the gate. I don't want to follow everybody else. I want to lead. I want folks to be looking at UIndy and saying, wow, how did they get that collective off the ground, or how did they do that? And obviously we're looking at what Division I is doing, and we're taking notes and we're scaling it. And so I want to be a leader in all ways. Obviously, athletically on the field, we want to contend, for championships nationally and obviously regionally, but also want to be known for doing it the right way, with integrity, with character. Graduating our student athletes and having the best all around everything, marketing, compliance, fundraising, you name it. To me, that's what it means to be a model.
You mentioned the collective you guys rolled out at LR during your tenure. That's not a common thing across Division II, across small college athletics in general.
Yep.
What were some of the things and some of the relationships with those supporters that maybe led you to make that, say, all right, collective is the right approach for us? And what do you think NIL looks like, the ceiling for NIL looks like in Division II?
Well, I don't know that we know what the ceiling looks like. We're all trying to figure it out, and I think it's different on every campus. In our case, certainly when I was at Lenoir-Rhyne, we had tremendous support from our annual giving was in really good shape. Our major giving is in really good shape. And we'd experienced a lot of success in those areas. Our corporate giving was, thriving, and so it allowed us to go, okay, what's next? And we had some alumni that were hungry and had been asking, quite honestly, for a couple of years. I've been trying to keep them at bay and saying, let's see what happens here. Let's see how it shapes. But when I started to see the FCS schools, like in the Southern Conference, embarking on collectives, I was like, okay, now we have a blueprint. So we started to do a little bit of research and see how they were doing it, what it looked like, and how we could maybe incorporate that into our strategy. And so it does take having the right alumni who really want to be aligned with your mission. And, we didn't want to become competing entities. We wanted to be able to be partners in the endeavor. And so I think having the right leadership, alumni-wise, and being at a point maturity-wise from an external revenue that you're able to take that next step. Because the reality is there are only so many dollars to go around. And where do you need the most? Right. And so one of the things we really started to focus on as a challenge, I think, right now in small college athletics and everywhere, probably at all levels, is retaining talent. Retaining your student athlete talent with the transfer portal and NIL. And so this is, we want to retain our best student athletes. And in Division II, you're talking about your All-Americans.
Right.
You want to keep those young people, in your program at least until they walk across the stage and get their degree.
You mentioned the collective rollout being the right time,
Yeah.
given the maturity of the revenue-generating elements that you put in place. Has that informed maybe how you think about if that is an applicable thing at UIndy?
Absolutely.
When that may be?
Yeah, it's a little ways down the road for us.
Okay.
We don't even have, like a partnership with an NIL vendor, Open Doors or any of the, leading standard. We don't have that in place yet, so we haven't even scratched the surface. So we've got to lay the foundation at UIndy first, and we have room probably to elevate our annual giving and our corporate. We've got opportunity there, and so I want to maximize and boost that first.
Yeah, we mentioned before we sat down, you were most excited to build. You just mentioned laying the foundation. I'm curious, what, pillars are you most excited to build for UIndy to remain that standard of excellence?
Yeah, well, I think there's all around excellence, but I think for us, where we probably have a great opportunity is operational excellence, in the sense of the things that really, I think, set the tone for your culture and how you approach game day and the fan experience and how you approach the student athletes, development support around them, whether it's athletic training or nutrition or sports performance, and really elevating all those things. It starts to set the tone and the culture, it reinforces it, that we're about excellence and doing things at a high level. My goal and vision would be that we would aspire to operate more like an FCS program in our operations. And your athletes feel it, your coaches feel it, they feel the support of the administrative staff and certainly the university, and that does take external revenue to be able to do those kinds of things. But to be able to operate very much like our D1 small college counterparts, because we're recruiting against them.
Right.
They're coming after our kids. We want to give a very similar experience.
Especially in that part of the country. You guys are all competing for
Yes, we
a
are.
lot, competing for those similar student athletes. You mentioned building the operations. What elements of that are you most excited about?
I think we got so much opportunity, like in the sense of like marketing and the fan experience and the game day experience. I think we can really take that up.
What things that you put in place at Lenore Ryan can kind of translate, and what things, maybe more importantly, what things did you do at Lenore Ryan that did, either vice versa, either did work but wouldn't work at Lenore Ryan or at UIndy versus what didn't work there that might actually work where you're at now?
I haven't gotten that far yet.
Okay.
Probably jumping ahead of me. I'm only 2 months on the job, but I think it's first you got to build a team, and I've got some great pillars, some great people on my staff. I'm super excited to work with the group that I've inherited, but we need to build out our external team in the sense of we don't have anyone doing marketing. We don't really have anyone dedicated to corporate revenue or external revenue. And so I'm excited to maybe add some staffing pieces and for, I think, somebody who will bring some creativity and will really amp up everything we're doing on the external side, be it athletic communications and how we're telling our story through content generation, to our fan experience. And the only way for us to be able to UIndy's got a great story. From a national championships won, All-Americans, finishing in the Learfield, I believe 11 times, in the last 20 years. So pretty impressive story, but we got to tell that story. And so to where you see it on the walls, when you walk in, you feel it. There's already an amazing culture of excellence, really, that starts with the coaches that we have and that I've been fortunate to inherit.
As you step into that culture of excellence, how do you assimilate into that, and how do maybe the rest of the athletic department assimilate into the culture and maybe some of the nuances that you want to instill, and how do those kind of mesh?
I love that question, actually. I'm in the midst of that. First, I've got to learn the culture. So I'm spending a lot of time with individual coaches asking about the culture, what has made this place so successful, and what do we need to continue to do? And then the next part is really just me focusing that okay, we talk at UIndy about like win as an athlete, win as a person, and win as a student. Very simple. I have to define the vision, where we're going, and how we're going to get there as far as building on win, but I also have to define how, right? It's one thing to say you want to win. Well, how are we going to do that? I have to get everybody rowing together and sort of, for me, it's just focusing the vision and the messaging about how. And so I actually love this process of getting everybody bought into the vision and the culture and the goals and where we're going. And when you do that, you're unstoppable. What we focused on at my last place was we had our sort of 3Ds, develop, drive, dedicate, which really was about continually looking for how you raise the bar. If you want to be a leader in Division II, if you get everybody focused on how you're going to get better individually and then collectively, and so that creates that that driving culture. And in athletics, you don't arrive at excellence.
Right.
You say you want to be a model D2 program or a leader in Division II or at any level, the moment you think you've arrived, somebody's on your heels. And so the beauty of competitive sports and I guess excellence in anything is you never arrive at it. You're constantly driving. Okay, what's next? We built a stadium. What's next? Okay, we get that done. What's the next project? And it's very, it's fulfilling, obviously, but it also sort of gets everybody excited and the momentum will start to build. And I think success comes
there's
from
always
that work, right?
If you're continuing to pursue excellence, there's always another step to pursue. I'm curious if you have a plan. You mentioned that this is one of the things you're most excited to build. Do you have a plan in place to start that process, and maybe how much of it is similar or different from the plan you began at Lenoir-Rhyne with?
Yeah, it is very similar. Actually, I'm finding probably UIndy's facilities in a very similar place that I found Lenoir-Rhyne. And when I was at Lenoir-Rhyne, we were able to renovate almost every facility for every sport, and not just renovate it, but our goal was to position our facilities to be at the top of Division II, and certainly even competitive with Division I, being the best, being a leader. And so I'm excited because that's probably, like, I feel like I'm starting a little bit from scratch, but I love that kind of work. I love the creative process of molding facilities into, something like, I see the gym very differently, because of what I've experienced at Lenoir-Rhyne. Because when I walked in there was no air conditioning and there was old wood bleachers, and now I can see actually what it can become. And even though it's an old space, I think we can make it a very special, high-level facility that will help us attract and retain talented student athletes down the road. So I love that process. There's so much opportunity there, and certainly I think everybody's excited to get going on that. So strategic planning, we're going to embark on that this spring, and by the summer have a plan ready to really roll out by the fall, so we can start to prioritize what our greatest needs are and get to work.
Have you thought through maybe what, how you would define, how you would define your own core values and how maybe those fit in to the culture that's at UIndy right now, maybe the elements of the strategic plan that you will roll out this upcoming year? Yeah,
core values, growth mindset. I think the driving part of it, the continually looking to improve, would be fundamental to who I am. My husband says, he defines me as somebody who never breaks in the curve, right? I just always have my foot on the gas. What's next? What's next? What's next? And I think UIndy's built that way. I think they have, just from the coaches that are on staff and the administrative team, they have been constantly looking to, sustain excellence. And so I think they're already wired that way, which was a big appeal to me. That was the sort of the tipping point for me to accept the job, was I can work with that group, and I actually would want to run through a wall for them because they're great people and they they're passionate, they care about kids, doing it the right way. I think doing it the right way is also part of my core values. Integrity, doing it the right way, treating people right, doing what's right for student athletes. That's part of being a leader, I think, in a model D2 program, is that not only are you winning and you're having success in every area, but you're also, you have a reputation for integrity and
Absolutely.
character.
Do you have a process that you use for improving? Do you have a structure of whether it's on an annual basis, on a monthly basis, on a weekly basis, seasons, maybe by sport, any or all of the above, to say, here's the goals that we want to achieve, and what kind of check-in points do you have? Is it a part of like your senior staff meeting of, all right, we're going to break these big goals down into little goals and work through this, or what's the process you use for that?
Yeah, I'm very, I guess, intentional and calculated in how I go about driving goals and setting goals. I want it to be something where my team is setting the goals. It's not me just rolling out my plan. So very collaborative. And so I've done regular retreats, 2 or so in the summer, and just did one last week actually, where we chart sort of the strategic priorities for the year. And then we'll revisit them throughout the year, monthly. How are we doing? What do we need to get to work on in order to accomplish that goal or that initiative that we said we were going to do? And then we'll revisit it mid-year at the break, winter break. And then we'll kind of make sure that we're positioned to see it through in the spring. And so I also set collective goals for the whole department. Kind of do a early August rollout for all staff. I refer to it as almost like installing, or in most, if you've been there a while, it's reinstalling your culture. But at that point, everyone within our department would know what our goals are, what the strategic priorities are for the department, in all areas, whether it be revenue generation or student athlete experience or, facilities. It would all be mapped out. And with that, when you put something out there, it also kind of holds us accountable to, we said we were going to do this. Now we need to get to work, but also creates more of a cohesive, unified sort of vision where we're all contributing to it.
How do you think about making sure individuals on your team are in the right seat?
Well, I think I got to invest a lot of time with them, especially the folks that I haven't worked with. I got to get to know my people and what their strengths are and what their interests and passion. I'm always looking for, what are your aspirations? Like, where would you like to grow? And how can I help you? And usually those will coincide with the right seat. And so if somebody came to me and shared, hey, I want to be an AD one day, I need external experience, can you help me? Absolutely. And so I try to tap into people's internal motivation and whatever their aspirations are, to be able to elevate them. And then it feels like we're in partnership and I'm invested in them and they know that I care about their success. I'm going to get way more out of them that way. Plus we elevate, because they're probably giving us a lot more because they're pouring themselves into whatever that opportunity is. So it starts there, is what do they enjoy doing? Do they enjoy doing what they're doing? And then what help and development do they need? I have a mix of staff and coaches, and this is going to probably be the case for the duration of my career, just the nature of D2. You have young people coming in and some people that stay, and it's just figuring out how I can help them grow and develop, and they're all in different places. And then helping my upper leadership, mentor and develop, the new people that are coming in. So trying to get everybody operating at a really high level.
How do you think about building trust with those people? Because I can imagine it would be easy for somebody that knows you really well to come in and say, hey, here's what I'm wanting my career to be. It's pretty different for somebody you're just meeting now to say, all right, to be vulnerable enough to say, hey, here's what I would like to out of my own career, and I would like you to help me get there. So how do you think about building that interpersonal trust with this new staff as you are just getting rolling? It's
like the most important thing I do, honestly. And to me, it's the foundation of everything. And so it's just time with people, being open and honest and listening. And I also need to earn their trust. You know, if they say they have some issues that they need help resolving, I've got to roll up my sleeves and help them solve those things, as little or as big as they are. And I've got to be honest and transparent. If there's some challenges I can't get to, we can't add an assistant coach right now. I know you need them. We'll work on it. It'll be at the top of my priority list. So I think it starts there, listening, getting to know people, what makes them tick. And I think creating an environment of intentionality. And so, part of me building trust with each of the individual people on my staff is me being willing to share who I am, vulnerable, opening up, being real and honest, where people start to feel like, okay,
What resources have been most beneficial in your personal development that you may also kind of plug those on your staff now in to help them develop?
So I am a firm believer in serving, getting involved in your realm as far as like the opportunities that we have to serve on national committees or NACTA, and just really plugging people into bringing them to conferences or conventions, introducing them to their associations, encouraging them to go to the various women leaders conferences or NACTA conventions and NCAA conventions, and then getting involved in serving. I became an AD at a really young point in my career. I will say I was young in the sense that I looked young. Everybody thought I was like 25, but I was probably 32. And I also had only been in college athletic administration for 2 years at best, and was an AD. And I started serving on like management or membership committee for Division II. I learned I met some of I think the most accomplished and certainly the best leaders in Division II sitting around the table. I was taking notes, people like Tim Selgo and folks like that were around the table. And for me as a young AD, when I got networked with those people, and they've wrapped around me for the last 17 years and helped me grow and have been a part of my journey, even today, some great friends and colleagues. But I think that's the best part of what we do outside of the student-athlete experience is the community that we can become a part of and support each other and rally around. We might be, not rooting for each other when we're playing each other, but it's such a great family and sense of community, especially I think in small college athletics. Division II has some amazing people, and they reach out and lean into each other and invest in each other. So I think that's what I would suggest. Get involved in any way you can, whatever committee on the national level or with your association. Go to your conferences and get to know people. They'll become part of your journey.
An excellent message to end on. Kim, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.